Alien scouts detected a dangerous human fleet moments later. Their systems collapsed. HFY deep space was quiet, but it was never truly empty. Small signals moved between stars. Ships crossed dark paths that few species could see. In one distant system near a busy trade route, an alien scout ship drifted in silence. The scout ship belonged to the Velnari Coalition. The Coalition had ruled many systems for hundreds of years. They believed their technology was the best in the known galaxy. Their ships were fast, their weapons were powerful, their sensors could see almost everything. Inside the scout ship, Commander Rilzor stood at the center platform. His tall frame leaned slightly forward as he watched the glowing screens. His crew worked calmly around him. They were on a routine patrol. Nothing dangerous was expected in this region. Officer Kelvar monitored long-range sensors. Engineer Therk checked power flow through the ship's core. Communications Officer Selra listened to background signals from nearby trade lanes. Everything was normal. Then Kelvar stiffened. "Commander," he said slowly, "I am detecting multiple faster-than-light signatures at the edge of the system." Rilzor turned his head. "How many?" Kelvar adjusted his console. "One moment, the count is increasing. 5, 10, 20, more than 30 vessels." The room grew quiet. No known Velnari ally operated such a large fleet in this area. "Identify them," Rilzor ordered. Kelvar scanned deeper. His console flickered as if confused. "Unknown design. Hull structure does not match Coalition records. No clear power signature pattern." Rilzor felt a small wave of unease. "Magnify visual feed." A large image appeared in the center of the command chamber. Dark shapes emerged from faster-than-light travel. One after another, massive ships formed a perfect line in space. They were not smooth like Velnari ships. Their hulls looked layered, almost armored in thick plates. Long structures extended along their sides. They moved into formation with exact timing. The fleet stopped as one. No broadcast came from them. No weapons fired. They simply waited. "Who are they?" Selra whispered. Rilzor did not answer. On the largest human ship, Captain Ethan Brooks stood quietly on the bridge. He was a tall man with steady blue eyes and short brown hair. He did not move much, but he noticed everything. The bridge of the human flagship was different from the Velnari command room. It had fewer glowing lights. Screens were simple and clear. Crew members spoke softly. Laura Mitchell, his first officer, studied a tactical display. "Captain, alien scout vessel detected. They are scanning us." "Distance?" Ethan asked. 300,000 kilometers, light vessel, no heavy weapons visible." Chief Engineer Daniel Ross checked system readings. "Their sensor frequency is broad spectrum." "They are pushing hard to read our hull." Ethan nodded once. "Let them scan." Communications Officer Grace Taylor looked up from her console. "No message from them yet." "They are watching," Ethan said calmly. "That is expected." Back on the Velnari scout ship, Kelvar increased scanning power. "Their hull absorbs active scans," Kelvar reported. "Reflection patterns are unstable. It is almost as if the surface is shifting." Engineer Therk frowned. "That is not possible. Physical armor does not shift under passive scan." "But it is," Kelvar replied. Rilzor crossed his arms. "Scan their power core." Kelvar focused sensors toward the largest vessel in the center of the formation. For a moment, readings appeared normal. Then every reading blurred. Numbers spiked, then flattened. "Commander," Kelvar said quietly, "I cannot isolate their energy source. It changes frequency every microsecond." Rilzor stared at the display. No known reactor system behaved like that. "Send a report to command," he ordered. Selra prepared a tight beam transmission toward the nearest Coalition relay station. On the human flagship, Laura glanced at her console. "Captain, the scout is transmitting." Ethan nodded. "They are calling for backup." Daniel spoke from Engineering Link. "Interference grid is ready." Ethan did not answer immediately. He watched the alien scout on the main display. It was small compared to his ship, fragile. Status of their weapons, he asked. Laura checked. Low power but active. They have not locked on. Very well, Ethan said. Prepare Phase 1. Hannah Cole, the fleet systems scientist, stood behind a side console. She was young but focused. Her hands moved across controls with confidence. Quantum logic array standing by, she said. The human fleet did not charge weapons. No energy spikes appeared. Instead, a soft, invisible wave moved outward from the flagship. It was not heat. It was not radiation. It was a complex pattern of logic pulses layered within a narrow band of frequency. It reached the Velnari scout in less than a second. Inside the alien ship, Kelvar blinked. His screen froze. What is happening? He asked. Therk looked at his power board. Lights flickered. Warning tones sounded. Power fluctuation across primary circuits, Therk reported. Selra tried to finish her transmission, but her console went dark. Commander, she said, fear in her voice, communications offline. Rilzor stepped toward the center console. Report. Navigation unresponsive, Kelvar said. Controls are not accepting commands. Therk's voice grew louder. Weapon systems disabled, shield emitters not responding. One by one, every system on the scout ship shut down. There was no explosion. No visible beam struck them. The lights dimmed, then switched to emergency red. Life support remained active but weak. Rilzor stood in near darkness. Damage assessment, he ordered. Therk ran a manual check. No physical damage detected, core stable, circuits intact. Then why are we powerless? Rilzor demanded. No one answered. On the human flagship, Laura watched calmly. Target vessel fully disabled. Life support remains functional at minimum level. Ethan gave a small nod. Good. Grace turned in her chair. No distress signal from them. They cannot send one, Daniel said over the intercom. Their transmitter logic boards are frozen. The pulse overloaded their firmware pathways. Hannah looked at her readings. The adaptive pattern worked. Their system architecture was analyzed and mirrored in real time. Once we understood their command structure, we introduced recursive conflicts into their logic core. Laura smiled slightly. In simple words, Hannah allowed herself a small breath. We confused their computers so badly they shut themselves down. Ethan folded his hands behind his back. Any chance of permanent damage? Minimal, Hannah replied. Once the interference fades, they can restart manually. We targeted control software, not hardware. Ethan looked again at the drifting alien scout. Hold position, he ordered. The human fleet remained motionless. Inside the Velnari scout, the crew struggled with manual overrides. Therk opened a physical access panel beneath his console. Wires and circuit nodes were exposed. Core functions are intact, he said. But command pathways are locked in loop errors. It is as if our own system is rejecting itself. Kelvar tried to reboot navigation. The screen flashed strange symbols before going blank again. Rilzor felt something he had not felt in many years. Fear, not fear of destruction. Fear of helplessness. Did they fire upon us? Selra asked quietly. Rilzor shook his head. No impact detected. Then how? She whispered. He had no answer. Minutes passed. The human fleet did nothing. They did not approach. They did not fire. They simply waited. On the flagship, Laura glanced at Ethan. Captain, if they restore systems, they may attempt aggression. Ethan nodded. If they do, we repeat the process, but stronger. Daniel's voice came through again. Secondary arrays ready. We can disable multiple targets at once if needed. Ethan walked slowly to the front viewport. Stars stretched endlessly before him. The alien scout drifted like a silent object in the dark. We are not here to destroy them, he said softly, only to show them. Grace looked curious. Show them what? That humanity is not weak, Ethan replied, and that we do not need to fire a single shot to prove it. Back on the Velnari scout, Kelvar finally restored a small auxiliary display. "Commander," he said, breathing hard, "I have partial control of internal systems. Engines remain offline, weapons still dead." Rilzor leaned over the console. "External sensors, limited," Kelvar answered. "The unknown fleet has not moved." Rilzor stared at the dark shapes outside. They had the power to destroy his ship easily. Instead, they had chosen not to. "They wanted us to see this," he said quietly. Selra looked at him. "See what?" Rilzor's eyes narrowed. "Their strength." In the distance, the human fleet continued to hold formation. Silent, steady. Part 1 ended not with fire, not with battle, but with a message written in silence. The galaxy had just learned that a new force had arrived. And it did not need weapons to win. The Velnari coalition scrambled to understand what had happened. The disabled scout ship had been towed back to the nearest command station by a rescue vessel. Inside the command hub, alarms rang quietly. The council of leaders, tall and decorated, stared at reports streaming in from the scout. Admiral Cather, the head of the coalition fleet in this sector, slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Explain this," he demanded. His voice echoed in the chamber. There was no explosion. No energy spike, no weapon discharge, yet the scout is dead in the water. How? Scientist Thyris stepped forward. She was small and wiry, her eyes darting across consoles. "Sir, our initial scans show no external attack. All systems were overloaded by internal failure. Firmware, core circuits, logic pathways, all collapsed simultaneously." "Impossible," one council member hissed. "No fleet in history could disable a scout like this without firing a weapon." "Yet it happened," Thyris said, "and there is no trace of a virus or energy weapon. It is as if the ship shut itself down." Panic began to spread. Smaller patrols reported glitches as they approached the human fleet. Navigation errors, misfires, sensor confusion. Every fleet that drew near experienced the same strange effects. Officers whispered fearfully that the humans were not just strong, they were dangerous. Back on the human flagship, Captain Ethan Brooks studied the fleet map with his officers. Laura Mitchell leaned over a console, checking distances and sensor readouts. Daniel Ross monitored energy flows across the ships. Grace Taylor kept communications open, listening for any sign of coalition aggression. "Our goal is not war," Ethan said quietly. "We only want to make them understand." "Understand what, sir?" Laura asked. "That humanity survives not by fighting blindly, but by adapting," Ethan replied. "We have lived at the edge of extinction before. We know what it means to lose everything. We learn to protect ourselves without destroying others unnecessarily." Hannah Cole, the fleet scientist, turned from her console. "The interference grids are working perfectly. Every approaching vessel experiences logic collapse before it can even react. They see us, they try to act, and then they stop. It is instantaneous." Noah Carter, the tactical officer, added, "We can target multiple fleets at once if needed. But that is not our mission. We are here to defend and to demonstrate. No one dies today unless they choose aggression." The Coalition Council argued for hours. Some members demanded a preemptive strike. They wanted to destroy the human fleet before it could grow stronger. Others argued that attacking would guarantee their own defeat. No one could explain how humans disabled entire ships with a single command pulse. Admiral Cather finally made a decision. He would send a larger response fleet. 30 of his most powerful warships would move toward the human fleet. He believed overwhelming numbers would reveal the secret. He did not yet understand that humans relied on speed, intelligence, and adaptation, not brute force. As the fleet prepared to jump, Ethan Brooks gathered his officers. "They will come," he said. "We will not fire unless necessary. We will show them restraint and control." Laura nodded. "Our arrays are ready. We can disable any aggression without casualties." Daniel adjusted the power distribution. Secondary grids prepared. Long-range and short-range interference active. Grace checked communications. No messages yet. They have not acknowledged our presence formally. Ethan studied the stars through the viewport. Let them come. Let them see the cost of underestimating humans. We are not reckless, but we are prepared. Back in the Coalition, Admiral Cather's War Council assembled. Warships hummed with stored energy. Weapon systems glowed, shields charged. Officers stood ready to fire at the humans. Remember, Cather said, our numbers guarantee success. 100 ships against 20. We will understand their power before they destroy us. But the fleet did not understand. Humans did not rely on weapons alone. They relied on systems that could see every threat in milliseconds and adapt instantly. The Coalition fleet would soon learn that technology alone was not enough. On the human flagship, Ethan gave final instructions. Hannah, monitor their approach. No interference until they attempt aggression. Understood, Captain, Hannah replied. Her fingers flew across the controls. Quantum pulses hummed silently through the hull. Laura added, tactical arrays ready. Every ship will act in concert if needed. Noah Carter looked up. Do they know we do not intend to attack? Yes, Ethan said. They feel our power, they see it, but they do not know its limits. That is enough for now. Moments passed. Stars shifted outside the viewport. The Coalition response fleet appeared at faster than light distance. 30 massive ships glowed red with weapons primed. Their commanders believed the humans had not seen them yet, but humans had seen. They had seen and prepared. Laura whispered, they are moving into range. Their targeting arrays are active. Let them complete their calculations, Ethan said. We will give them a choice. The first ship in the Coalition fleet sent a targeting signal toward the largest human ship. Seconds later, its systems froze. Weapons locked, navigation stalled, shields faltered. Alarms rang, but the ship could not respond. One by one, the rest of the fleet experienced the same failure. Logic pulses, adaptive and precise, flowed invisibly from the human ships. Coalition vessels could not react. They drifted helpless, even though no human had fired a shot. Inside the Coalition ships, panic grew. Officers shouted orders. Fire now, one cried. Disable them before they reach full strength, but nothing worked. Sensors blinked. Weapons refused to respond. Engines stalled. The ships were trapped by their own systems, not by external force. Admiral Cather's command ship went dark. Emergency lights glowed dim red. He gripped his console, fear creeping into his mind. How is this possible? He demanded. They are not firing, yet we cannot move, Thyrus, the lead scientist, reported desperately. Logic loops in every ship. Artificial intelligence and navigation pathways collapsing. They cannot be restarted remotely. Cather realized something terrifying. Humans had studied their systems. They had anticipated every command and countercommand. Humans did not need brute force to win. They only needed knowledge, speed, and control. Back on the human flagship, Ethan watched quietly. Laura whispered, Captain, they are immobilized. We could destroy them if we wanted. We will not, Ethan said firmly. We only need them to understand. Grace Taylor opened a channel to the largest Coalition ship. A crackling, dim transmission appeared. The voice of Cather came through, shaky. What have you done? Our fleet we cannot move, Ethan's voice was calm. We disabled your fleet without harm. No one is dead. We only wish to protect our space and show our strength. Aggression is unnecessary. There was silence. Then Cather asked, Why spare us? Because we value life, Ethan replied. Strength is not measured by destruction but by restraint. Inside the immobilized fleet, Coalition officers slowly began to understand. The humans were not reckless. They were disciplined. They were powerful, but they chose control over chaos. Laura watched Cather's confused expression. Our goal is not conquest, she said. We want balance, security, understanding. Ethan nodded. We can disable any threat. We have shown that. Now the choice is yours. Act with wisdom or learn the hard way. Moments later, Coalition ships began to recover slowly. Humans had designed the pulse to be reversible, leaving life support and core systems intact. The lesson was clear: do not attack without understanding the consequences. Hannah Cole smiled faintly. They are beginning to reboot. We targeted control pathways, not vital systems. Daniel Ross added, minimal damage, maximum lesson. Noah Carter checked long-range sensors. They are stabilizing, but there is fear in every command crew. Laura looked at Ethan. Captain, the council will meet soon. They will want explanation, negotiation, maybe surrender. Let them, Ethan said quietly. Humanity has shown the galaxy that power without violence is real power. That is the lesson of today. As the human fleet held position, stars stretched endlessly outside. Distant suns shone. Somewhere the galaxy was watching. The coalition was shaken, their pride humbled. They had never met a species that could defeat them without firing a single shot. And humanity had done it calmly, with precision and without anger. The galaxy was beginning to learn that humans were not to be underestimated. Part 2 ended not in battle but in fear and respect. A silent message had been sent. Humans were strong, intelligent, and controlled. The coalition would never forget the lesson. The quiet in space returned, but it was no longer the same. Somewhere beyond the stars, minds in the coalition thought differently now. Humanity had arrived. The coalition did not wait long before acting. Admiral Cather, humiliated and frustrated, had ordered a massive response fleet to confront the human ships directly. 30 of the most advanced warships in the coalition's navy jumped from faster-than-light travel and appeared near the human fleet. Their red glows filled the void as engines powered up and weapons charged. The fleet was massive, overwhelming, and ready for battle. On the human flagship, Captain Ethan Brooks watched calmly. He stood at the viewport, arms crossed, observing the approaching armada. Laura Mitchell, his first officer, studied the tactical map with focus. "Captain, they are preparing to fire," she said softly. "All targeting arrays are locked onto us." "Let them," Ethan replied. His voice was steady, quiet. "We know what comes next." In engineering, Daniel Ross monitored energy distribution across every ship in the fleet. "Primary and secondary arrays at full readiness," he reported. "Adaptive pulse sequence can engage all 30 ships simultaneously if needed." Hannah Cole, the fleet scientist, moved across her console. Her fingers danced as she checked interference grids. "The logic pulse will adapt instantly to every target," she said. "Any command they give to weapons or engines will be mirrored and reversed before execution. They will be immobilized just like before." Noah Carter, tactical officer, leaned forward. "They have heavy weapons. Shields are high. If we fail, it will be catastrophic." Ethan shook his head. "We will not fail. They rely on brute force and rigid logic. We rely on adaptation. They will learn the same lesson again, only stronger." The coalition fleet opened fire, or at least they thought they did. Targeting signals locked onto the largest human ship. Energy calculations ran in every ship's command center. Weapon systems prepared to discharge destructive plasma. Suddenly, one by one, coalition systems began to collapse. Engines stalled first. Navigation controls froze. Weapons locks broke. Shields flickered and failed. Alarms rang across every vessel. Officers shouted orders that could not be executed. Inside the coalition flagship, Admiral Cather's chair rattled as he gripped the armrests. "What is this?" he shouted. "We have 100 ships, 100, and we cannot move." Thyris, the lead scientist, stared at her console. Logic loops are cascading through every vessel simultaneously. Commands are rejected. Adaptive disruption, it is happening faster than our calculations. Back on the human flagship, Ethan remained calm. Laura watched the displays, her eyes scanning every indicator. "Captain, they are completely immobilized," she said. "No engines, no weapons, no shields, nothing works." "Good," Ethan said. "Remember, we do not destroy, we only teach." Hannah checked readings. Their systems are being analyzed and reversed in real time. Each ship is receiving a slightly different pulse pattern based on its control algorithms. It is precise and instantaneous. They cannot counter it, Daniel added. We could escalate if needed. But restraint is more powerful. The coalition officers tried desperately to regain control. Cather's voice rang across the internal communications. Restore systems. I command it. His voice faltered as nothing responded. He realized that humans had anticipated every command, every countermeasure. The Armada was helpless not because humans had destroyed it, but because they had understood it fully and used its own systems against it. A silence fell over the immobilized fleet. Only emergency lights glowed. Alarms echoed, but there was no action. Coalition soldiers, engineers, and officers looked at each other in confusion and fear. They had faced many enemies, but never a foe who could defeat them without a single shot. On the human flagship, Ethan spoke calmly over an open channel. Admiral Cather, your fleet is immobilized. No one is dead. Life support remains stable. We could destroy your ships easily, but that is not our goal. We want understanding. We want peace. Cather's voice was strained. Why spare us? You could annihilate us. Because strength without control is weakness, Ethan replied. We have power, yes, but power is measured by restraint, not destruction. Back in the coalition fleet, officers tried to argue with Cather. We should fire now, we can still destroy them before they act further. Cather shook his head slowly. No, we are helpless. Any action will fail. We must listen. Perhaps they will teach us. The human boarding party was prepared, though no one expected resistance. Security Chief Ryan Clark led a small team through safe docking corridors to the flagship of the coalition. They carried no heavy weapons, only tools and basic repair devices. Their mission was clear: stabilize systems, prevent accidents, and offer assistance where needed. As the team moved inside, they found coalition officers in panic. Wires dangled, consoles blinked erratically, and lights flickered. Ryan spoke calmly. We are here to help. No one is to be harmed. We only wish to restore minimal control so you can breathe and move safely. Engineer Therk looked at the small human team in disbelief. You did this, Ryan nodded. We disabled your fleet without destroying anything. Now we help you recover. Our goal is not conquest, it is balance. Back on the human flagship, Ethan watched the boarding operation. Laura spoke quietly. Captain, we could have destroyed every ship. We could have taken the Armada without risk. Ethan shook his head. Yes, but that is not victory. Showing our control, our intelligence, and our restraint, that is true victory. Grace Taylor monitored communications between ships. Admiral Cather is trying to understand. He asked why we acted this way. Ethan replied, we protect what we built. We survive what we face. We do not seek to dominate unless forced. Let him learn this lesson. Hannah Cole checked the interference grids one last time. The logic pulses will fade gradually. Life support will remain intact. Engines and weapons can be restarted manually. They have learned the limits of their systems. Noah Carter observed the coalition command ship. Fear is spreading across every officer. They now realize our speed, intelligence, and adaptation exceed anything they expected. Cather, sitting on his immobilized bridge, stared at the human fleet on sensors. He had spent centuries commanding fleets. He had never faced an enemy like this. They were not aggressive, but they were powerful, smart, and precise. They had all the control with none of the violence. They are not like any species we know, Cather whispered. And yet they are not reckless. They are controlled. Laura looked at Ethan. Sir, they are beginning to reboot. They will slowly regain systems. Do we intervene? Ethan shook his head. No, let them recover. Let them remember the lesson fully. Our point is made. We do not destroy, we teach. Ryan Clark's boarding party finished their work. Coalition officers looked at them in awe and confusion. Humans did not boast. They did not threaten. They simply acted with precision, restraint, and care. Hannah added, "Their command logic is stabilizing. All life support is stable. Engines remain offline for observation. Weapons remain disengaged. They will remember how it felt to be helpless and we did not hurt them." Cather finally spoke to Ethan directly through restored communication. His voice was quieter now. "Captain Brooks, your species, your fleet, you could have destroyed us, but you did not. Why?" Ethan's tone was calm and firm. "Because life is more valuable than pride. Strength is measured by control, not aggression. We have power, yes, but we choose to use it wisely." Inside the Coalition fleet, officers began to murmur. Fear was still present, but it was tempered by respect. They saw clearly that humans could destroy them, yet humans chose not to. That was a new concept in the galaxy, one that no one had taught them before. Laura whispered to Ethan, "They are silent. They are watching. They are learning." Ethan nodded. "Exactly. Let them learn. Let them understand that humans do not strike without cause, but they strike with certainty when necessary." As the human fleet remained in formation, the stars stretched endlessly. Coalition ships, once proud and confident, drifted powerless in space. Yet no lives were lost. No explosions erupted. No beams of destruction flared. The lesson was complete. Humans had arrived not with war but with intelligence, discipline, and control. And the galaxy, for the first time in centuries, began to recognize that humans were a force unlike any other. The immobilized Coalition fleet would never forget this encounter. The fear, respect, and awe it inspired would echo across the stars. Part 3 ended with human power proven, not through fire, but through mastery, strategy, and the choice to spare life. The galaxy had witnessed true strength for the first time after the Coalition fleet had recovered from the immobilization. A tense silence filled space. The massive Armada drifted in formation, engines humming weakly. Admiral Cather's pride had been shaken, and he now faced a difficult decision. His fleet had been defeated without a single human shot fired, yet not one life had been lost. The lesson was clear and the weight of it pressed on him. On the human flagship, Captain Ethan Brooks watched the Coalition Armada with quiet patience. Laura Mitchell studied the tactical map. "Sir, they are ready to communicate," she said. "All major ships have opened channels." Ethan nodded. "Prepare an invitation to meet. No weapons, no displays of force, only discussion." Communications Officer Grace Taylor activated the channel. Admiral Cather's voice came through, cautious but curious. "Captain Brooks, we wish to understand. Your fleet, your actions, it is unlike anything we have faced." Ethan's tone was calm and steady. "Admiral Cather, humanity does not seek conquest. We seek recognition and balance. Your fleet is safe. Your officers are unharmed. Our goal is understanding, not destruction." Cather paused. The sound of machinery and alarms filled the background. "You could have destroyed us, easily, every ship, every officer gone." "Yes," Ethan admitted. "We could, but power is measured by restraint, not violence. Destruction is easy, control is not. We wish to show that intelligence and discipline matter more than firepower." Back in the Coalition fleet, council members whispered to each other. Some were angry at being spared. Others were curious, even fearful. The human demonstration had shattered every belief they held about dominance in space. Hannah Cole spoke to Laura quietly. "We could have destroyed their fleet completely, but that would have taught nothing. They needed to see what it means to be powerless while alive." "That is a lesson they will never forget," Laura nodded. "And they will remember our patience as well. That is just as important as strength." Cather finally agreed to a meeting. A neutral asteroid station was selected. Both sides would send representatives. Humans would bring only a small escort. Coalition leaders would bring minimal security. The gesture of trust was symbolic but powerful. On the asteroid station, Ethan, Laura, and a few senior officers waited in the central chamber. The walls were smooth, simple, and neutral. No weapons were displayed. When the coalition representatives arrived, tension filled the air, but no one made a hostile move. Cather stepped forward. He was tall, stern, and cautious. "Captain Brooks, we have never seen such precision without aggression." "How do you achieve this?" Ethan gestured calmly. "We study, we adapt, and we act with discipline. Humans survived for millennia by learning from mistakes, by protecting life, and by understanding threats before they act. Our technology reflects that philosophy." Hannah Cole added, "Our ships are designed to resist failure. If one system fails, another takes over. If digital systems are attacked, analog backups maintain control. We assume problems will happen and prepare for them. This is why your fleets could not act against us effectively." A young coalition officer whispered to a colleague, "They do not fear war. They do not even threaten it, yet they are stronger than all our ships combined." Cather listened carefully. "So you could have destroyed every one of my vessels, every officer, every soldier, but you did not. Why?" Ethan's gaze was steady. "Because life is precious. Because victory without restraint is meaningless. We protect our people, our space, and our values." "Destroying your fleet would have taught no one the lesson we intended," Grace Taylor added. "We do not seek to dominate, we seek respect. We seek understanding. Cooperation is stronger than conflict." Discussion continued for hours. Humans shared insights into defensive technology, communication strategy, and the importance of adaptive systems, but never their most critical secrets. Coalition scientists listened in awe. They realized that brute force alone could not prevail against human intelligence and restraint. As the talks progressed, Cather began to change. His pride remained, but fear gave way to respect. He saw that humans were disciplined, clever, and measured. They had shown the galaxy that power was not in numbers, not in weapons, but in knowledge and control. Laura whispered to Ethan, "Sir, they are beginning to understand. Cather's tone is different now. Respect, not hostility." Ethan nodded. "Exactly. Humans survive not because we are reckless, but because we are careful, adaptive, and patient. The galaxy must learn that lesson." Over the next days, a formal treaty was drafted. The coalition recognized human territory and agreed to non-aggression. Humans shared limited defensive guidance: how to design resilient systems, how to maintain control under stress, and how to prevent cascading failures. Critical secrets of human technology remained safe. Inside the human fleet, crew members reflected on the encounter. Daniel Ross smiled quietly. "We could have destroyed them in moments, but restraint was stronger." Hannah Cole nodded. "Intelligence without discipline is dangerous. Discipline without intelligence is weak. We have both, and they will see that now." Laura added, "Every officer in their fleet will think twice before underestimating humans again." Ethan walked to the viewport, watching stars stretch endlessly before the fleet. "Humanity is no longer a hidden species at the edge of space," he said softly. "We are guardians of balance, not conquerors but protectors." Cather approached him later through a secure channel. His voice was steady, respectful. "Captain Brooks, your species, your actions have taught us humility. We will remember this. Your restraint, your intelligence, your control, it is unmatched. I hope one day we can cooperate as equals." Ethan replied, "We hope the same, Admiral. The galaxy is wide. There is room for many if we act wisely and with respect." As the human fleet prepared to depart, sensors scanned for any remaining threats. None appeared. The coalition fleets had learned their lesson and retreated to their systems to regroup, humbled but wiser. Noah Carter checked the long-range sensors. "All clear, Captain." "No immediate threats." Laura smiled slightly. "They will not forget this. We showed them the cost of aggression and the value of restraint." Ethan looked at the stars, calm and composed. "True strength is not in destruction. It is in control, knowledge, and the choice to protect life even when you could destroy." The fleet entered faster than light travel, moving quietly but with purpose. Distant stars blurred into streaks. Humanity's presence in the galaxy had changed forever. Every ship carried the lesson of patience, intelligence, and power tempered with restraint. Humans had proven that they could face overwhelming force, remain unbroken, and teach the galaxy a new kind of strength. Cather, now back in his command center, looked at the stars and whispered to himself, "The humans, they are not just strong, they are wise. Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated them for too long." On the human flagship, Ethan watched silently. The mission was complete. The fleet had not fired a single shot, yet the galaxy had learned. The human race was no longer the hidden, untested species at the edge of space. They were a force built on intelligence, adaptability, and discipline. And somewhere in the silence of space, the coalition fleets prepared to change. Not because humans had destroyed them, but because humans had shown them the meaning of true strength. The galaxy had seen human power, and it would never be the same again. Part 4 ended with peace, understanding, and a new balance. Humanity had proven that intelligence, control, and restraint could shape the stars without a single casualty. The lesson was clear. The strongest are not those who strike first, but those who know when not to strike at all.